Alan Greenspan has died at the ripe age of 100. As one wag noted, he did make it to par. Greenspan's passing set off a tsunami of tongue-bathing op-eds how the maestro central planned the American economy for close to 20 years, kicking off in 1987 when Greenspan used a stock market crash to turn the Fed into a Wall Street bailout machine where the bankers keep the wins and taxpayers and dollar holders eat the losses. Also known as the Greenspan put, and a big reason why boomers own everything while millennials share ramen with roommates at age 40. All the way through 2006 when Greenspan lit his last boom-bust bomb, ending in the 2008 financial crisis that nearly set off a second Great Depression. Unfortunately, the bailout machine Greenspan built is now a permanent feature, with every subsequent Fed chair pumping till it breaks and then bailing out what's left. So the background is central banks like the Fed are created by bankers as a counterfeiting cartel, which prints money but not so fast the inflation puts voters on pitchforks. Basically, a gasoline thief who siphons the neighbors a quarter gallon at a time instead of draining tanks willy-nilly, which would get him caught. The way central banks print is they let commercial banks lend money they don't have. They counterfeit the loans, and the Fed does this by promising to bail out the bankers if anything goes south, the so-called lender of last resort function. It is a permanent standing bailout. Then they limit the money printing using interest rates. The Fed sets how much loans cost. That's the quarter gallon. Lower rates and you get cheaper loans, which artificially boosts growth, generates more fees for Wall Street, and makes it cheap for the federal government to spend money it doesn't have. The problem is having an unlimited money printer's Frodo's ring. It attracts pressure to cut rates too far, which causes the boom-bust cycle of inflation and recession, and even more pressure from Wall Street to use that lender of last resort function to bail out not just the boom-busts, but speculation. Because it's an iron law of finance that more risk is more return, so if you tell gamblers they can keep the wins but you'll cover the losses, they will go all in all the time. And that's where Greenspan comes in. Starting with the 87 stock crash, Greenspan flooded the banking system with money, promising to keep flooding until every banker was solvent. Bankers went from conservative portly men in glasses to the 1980s sharks fueled by hookers and blow. Sharks who went on to fuel 13 financial crises under Greenspan, from the S&L crisis to the tequila crisis, the dot-com bubble, the 94 bond market massacre, 97 Asian financial crisis, the 1998 hedge fund bailouts, and the mother of housing bubbles in the early 2000s. In every case, the sharks made billions, the taxpayers and dollar holders got shafted. The smoke cleared, finance quadrupled to become the third largest industry in America, just behind manufacturing. Worse, it put Wall Street on a risk house of cards that every Fed chair now must feed. Our new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, has already bumped up against that, apparently ditching promises to reduce inflation by pawning Fed assets, because Wall Street is now orchids in a greenhouse that cannot survive in the wild. So it's next brought to you by the Bitcoin Way. Greenspan may be gone, but the bailout machine he built keeps growing. Fixing it is easy. Just announce the Fed won't bail anybody out if a bank fails. It's sold for scrap to more prudent bankers. Of course, that would set off an instant 2008 crisis, meaning it will not happen. The best Warsh can do is try and limit bailouts, but he's locked in a straitjacket. Alan Greenspan wolf. Read the rest with charts and all the gory details at profsanos.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.